Your question is very, very important. If we accept the Sephardic approach or the approach of the Rishonim, the early rabbis, that Midrash has to be taken with a grain of salt, it's not always literal, it comes from many different sources, it's not the word of God, it has an agenda, it has a message. If we understand it, fine. If we don't understand it, just put it aside. That's one thing. But if we accept it as a word of God, how can God question God, right?
The Midrash is reflecting what's going on in Genesis, and it's being used to try to make sense of this, historical and political situation at the time. But back to then applying this to parenting, I have to tell you there have been times when it is most difficult to admit as a parent that you were wrong in your decision. To actually rebuke your child, punish them, whatever, and then when other facts come to light, to go back to them, and it's not easy to do.
Yeah. Did you do it? Did you do it?
I have to do it.
Okay, kudos. It's not easy, right?
It's not easy to
It's
go
not
back
easy
because you're undermining your own authority.
Right.
When you do that.
Yeah.
Not really, because
it's not just authority. Kids will respect it, but it has a lot to do with ego. It's a question of control. Like, we have as parents. I was here before you. Definitely before you.
I brought you into this world.
Right.
I can take you out.
Right. So, yeah, it's difficult. So, Sefer tackles major questions, and also, from a different point of view, it's really important to understand our view of God, because for a lot of people, for a lot of observant or religious believing people, there's a certain blurring of the boundaries between God and parents, and especially if the parents are religious and authoritarian, the children will identify God with the parent and will develop a negative reaction towards religion. And this is the debate between Bible scholars about what is the character of the biblical God. Is it an angry God? Is it a forgiving God? And I think it's just a God that reflects the full gamut of human emotions, because it's really an educational tool for us. It's not talking really about God. So I think it's an amazing midrash in that sense of how it brings all these things into play. It's concise. It's the analogy for people who lived at the time really hits you, because.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say. I mean, it struck me when you said that we learned about like the full gamut of human emotions. So like the Bible is a book that teaches us how to be a good person. Mm-hmm. It's not a book that teaches us about God.
Right. God is eventually all about yourself. I mean, the concept of God is to know how to deal with your relations with the world, with self, with others. Especially if we follow the Maimonidean explanation that God is immutable, God doesn't change. So whatever happens in the world with us doesn't affect God; it always affects us. That's part of another discussion, another theology. But I think it's that's how I see it. And there we go back to Eric's question. Remember the Midrash that I said had sort of a feminine voice in it, where the angel Metatron tells God, "Don't cry, I'll cry for you." But why is God crying? He says, "Woe to me, oily! What have I done? I have destroyed my temple. I punished my children." Right? So it's regret. And so if you come from the human point of view, that Midrash is a human creation, no problem. For those who believe this is the word of God, they say, yeah, God regrets. It's God. They will say God admits that He made mistakes. He regretted the creation of men, and He brought the flood about. So
and then He regretted
they will be able. What?
Then He regretted the flood.
Yeah. So right, you will be able to reason with that once you believe that this is the approach. I would just want to go back one second to what I said before, in terms of the visual power of this midrash, especially for people who lived at the time where this was a common event. People used to go to the arenas, to the famous bread and entertainment. It was bread and circuses, and a circus. Why is it called circus?
Because it's round.
Because it's round. It's
Circus Maximus.
what?
Isn't it like Circus Maximus?
Yeah. So the arena was round. This is where people and it was not your Barnum or Ringling or what is it called, Soleil, Cirque du Soleil. It was a violent, bloody, and almost like American football, almost. Yeah, was really, and people went to see it. That was entertainment. And some Jews were also dragged into that. Either as fighters or as spectators. So when the rabbi comes and tells people, your life here on earth, and he presents like a dialogue with God, is like the gladiator in the arena. The whole world is a stage, and we're just players, right? It's a very powerful image. People get it right away, and so he's daring, he's willing to. And we don't know what ensued. We don't know what happened afterwards. Did they engage in the conversation? Did they talk about the meaning of life and the meaning of death, and why God created what He created? Maybe and maybe not. We don't know.
I just wanted to comment too.
Yes.
Not just that God has regrets, but there's a modeling here. Not that God reflects, right? That there's, if the takeaway could also be that yes, God is omniscient, omnipotent, all that, but at the same time, there's room to reflect back on yourself. So there's this, again, the reinforcement of life, a human being as a parent. That's what we're discussing. In order to really be like God, there is a necessity to be self-reflective. I mean, you can't just come and be authoritative vis-a-vis your child. There needs to be room to go and wow, okay, well, I sometimes I'll grade myself at night. Well, that was a C day, or that was just, thinking I'm just like, okay, well, now that I've had that room and space to reflect, then I can still. It doesn't take away from the status of God or of a parent to come and then say, I've had this opportunity now to reflect, and I'm not above being able to say this is
right. Right.
So
it's true. It's
powerful.
Rashi uses this concept several times. It's not that common in the Midrash, but Rashi made it popular. And I think that it's one of the things that made also Rashi's commentary popular. Here he says the following word. He says, "Kan limadetcha or limdatcha Torah derech eretz." The Torah teaches you manners or how to behave. So, for example, when God says, "Let us create man," He says the Torah teaches you derech eretz. Even if you're superior, consult those who are around you. When God calls on Adam, "Ayeka, where are you?" Derech eretz. Don't startle people. Give them room. Give them an opportunity to get off the tree. So Rashi says it frequently, and you can say that this is really rooted in the Tanakh. It's a Midrashi concept that evolved from the Tanakh. The Midrash that you mentioned before is in Bereshit Rabbah, Kavbet Yud Gimel 22:13.
See, I view
Where he
this.
says here.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think of this soup as what we were discussing in our previous class. This idea of human beings being shutafim with Hashem, being partners with God, and that it's ultimately up to us to be able to teach, to be able to learn ourselves, and be able to, I guess, as parents will hopefully one day, I won't be parents, but to teach children and future generations, about life and the morals and values and ethics in which we take upon ourselves as human beings
Right.
to be one or to
Right.
be partners with
Yeah.
God.
Right.
It's
So
not
this.
just God Himself. It should not God Himself or Himself.
Right.
Himself.
God doesn't give us like the perfect. This is fatalism. When we say God mapped out everything for us, so what is our role? The Rick Warren is a very successful pastor. I'm sure you've heard of him. He wrote the book The Purpose-Driven Life, and I was intrigued when I read about him and I read parts of the book because really this is sort of the old biblical faith, and before it was corrupted by centuries of commentary that tried to make sense of all the suffering. So what we did was, says this is what God wanted for us, and in a way turned some people into passive participants. Just let life follow, stream along what life created for us. The Torah is definitely purpose driven. Keep saying it's not the purpose is not the world to come. It's this world. It's what you do here. And what you said, our being active participants in the act of creation is, first of all, not first of all, one of the things we find again, it's a biblical concept. God places Adam in the Garden of Eden to do what? Le'ovda u'leshomra. Le'ovda
To work it.
is to work it, but also to cultivate it. Leshomra is to guard and protect. Right? So Adam has to protect Earth. So he's an environmentalist. It's something that people forgot. For some people think that the Orthodox world, Christian or Jewish, is not interested in conservation and ecology and all that. And if you want to read about it, one of the graduates here, Nina Perlmutter, who's a professor of geology. She's also the rabbi of the Grand Canyon, beside the community in Flagstaff, Arizona. She was the first chaplain because national parks require that there would be a clergy. Yeah.
Really?
So she's the first Jewish clergy in a national park, and she's over the Grand Canyon. If you ever want to plan a trip, and I'll need to join it. She said she's gonna. So I was the counselor on her thesis on that. Very interesting on the parallels between ecology and Jewish literature. But the Ovdal Shema means to cultivate is like in the Midrash we read about Rabbi Akiva, wheat or cake, right? Fiber or garments. God gives us raw material and we develop it. So this is the human role. On one hand, you have to protect God's world, don't destroy it. The thing that we only in the last I guess 100, 200 years we really understand what is what we can do to Earth. But also le'ovda, you have to cultivate the world, meaning you take what is in potential and you realize it. So everything we do as humans, building, technology, software, invention, science, all this is part of the human effort. So interestingly enough, this question has been around for a while, cloning, right? And when it comes to human cloning, people within religious circles, definitely among Jews as well, raise this question: is it okay? Is it ethical? Is it allowed or not? And one of the most logical answers, simple and concise, was: if God gave us the ability to do it, it is allowed. We just have to make sure that it doesn't have destructive consequences.
Of course, it has destructive consequences. Haven't you seen a
Yeah,
science
it's true.
fiction
Nuclear
movie?
power, of course it has, but you cannot stop it. You can't say that it's not allowed. If you decide that it's not allowed because their question was not whether something bad can happen, right? Like people, engineering babies or getting rid of emotions or whatever it is. They talk about technically, are you allowed to engage in this study, even if it will lead to medical breakthroughs?
Stem cell research.
Right. I had a debate years ago, really close to 15 years ago, with a law professor from Loyola Mount University, a Jesuit, very, very smart man, on bioethics, and we spoke about stem cell research. And it was amazing that all logic stops when it comes to that issue, that you just can't touch it. That's it. You don't touch it. It's life. You don't touch it. You realize that you have to apply reason in a different way. So this is one argument about what you said. The other very strong argument of the Torah in favor of our participation in the process of creation is this Tzedem Elokim. This is the most revolutionary concept of the Torah, or one of the most revolutionary. I will say give it like top three. The image of God. What is the image of God? Everything we do today, in terms of equality, women's liberty, freedom of speech, or whatever it is, it all stems from the image of God. Because when you say and this is something that I was able to. I work with in Sunday school with first graders, and I brought this issue to them because I wanted to teach them about bullying, right? And say, what is the image of God? This is, when you look at the image, so they say the human form is the image of God. So when you look at human society, what do you see? What categories? So the first category that you would see is men and women. So God cannot be a man or a woman, because if we're both the image of God, what image does He have? That of a man or that of a woman? And if God is not man or a woman, then He's not either belong to any race or any build or anything like that. So it's something that goes beyond that, and then we understand intuitively that it's our intellect and our creativity, and this is what we identify with being human. That we are creative. We're able to create new things. People argue about intelligence, and it's a very, very sensitive issue when we talk about the intelligence and the suffering of lab animals, monkeys or captive dolphins and so on. And there's no question that they feel suffering, and that I don't know. I think last time I went to SeaWorld was like 10 years ago, or a zoo. So yeah, this is definitely true. But in terms of creativity, the difference between other intellectual species and mankind is there's no creativity. We don't see a change in the way. We don't see at least for us, a lasting artistic creation by dolphins or monkeys or ants or anything like that. Meanwhile, when we look at human intellect and what we create, it's just, what is it? Mind-boggling, flabbergasting. How can people create such diversity in word, language, art, physical movement, buildings? It's really amazing. And what we call creativity stems from the word creation. So God creates the world, and we continue by being creative. In Hebrew, Yotzer is the creator, and Yetziratiyut is creativity. Same connection. Okay, we got a little theological here, but it's important, right? Midrash would lead us. If it's not theology, what is it? Otherwise, really, people reduce the Midrash into like a bunch of stories. That we have to really. We didn't speak about that. That the name Book of Legends or Legends of the Jews are both misleading, because Agadah is not legend in the modern sense. It's a misnomer. When you think legend, fairy tale, right? Fantasy. But really, legend originally come from the word from Latin for read, leer, like in lecture or lectern, or actually the lecture in British universities at a certain level they are called readers. So legend is a reading. It's a reading of the text. That's how we have to think of Midrash, not as legends. And a reading means that your reading offers a certain interpretation of the text. So that's how we have to think, I think, of Midrash. Okay. Any more comments, questions on that Midrash, or we can move on? Yeah? Okay. Good. I didn't bring you the whole quote. I think just because I didn't have room on the page. So let me tell you what is the full quote. This Midrash on page 31. It's from Directed Hagiga in Talmud Bavli, page 14, side A, and it is page 14, side A, side 1.
No, not our page 14.
Oh, our page 31, sorry. Yeah. So, they talk about the very difficult text of the book of Daniel that had Christians fascinated, and they started writing apocalyptic visions on that. It was one of the books that really got them interested, especially since it's written in Aramaic. It was easier for many people to read. So they look into difficult verses in Daniel, and they found two verses. One is in Daniel 7:9, and the other one is actually, it's both in the same text. I think I can prove it. This is ancient Aramaic. It's not the Talmudic Aramaic, and it's the it's the Western dialect of Eretz Yisrael. It's the Eastern dialect of Babylonia, unlike the Western dialect of other of the Yerushalmi Talmud. So the verse says in Daniel Zayin Tet 7:9, right? It says this: Daniel has a vision, and what he sees is Chorsevan Remiv. The chairs were set up. The chairs were prepared. In modern Hebrew, this Aramaic word made it into modern Hebrew in the word kusa, which means couch. It's a comfortable seat. It's also in Arabic courtesy is a chair. So Daniel sees the Chorsevan Remiv. He sees plural, right? Two chairs are set up. And then he sees that Koseye Shevivin Dinu, sparks of fire. The chair is sparkling fire. Shevivin Dinu. So, what is the inner contradiction in the pasuk? One chair or two chairs, right? And whose chair is it? Shvivin Dino,
God.
God, and God is referred to as Atik Yomin, the old of days. A term that later on becomes prominent in the Zohar. Atik Yomin is a favorite term of the Zohar to describe God. God is the ancient of days, the old. Don't know if it appears as an old character or just that it's an ancient entity. So so we have a contradiction. We have to solve it. So what's right? Josh, Lily. Okay. Kiseh had.
כיסא אחד לא וכיסא אחד לדוד, דברי Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said one throne for him and one for David. אמר לו רבי יוסי הגלילי, עקיבא, עד מתי אתה עושה שכינה חול? Rabbi Yossi the Galilean told him, Akiva, until when will you equate the divine with the profane? Or probably more colloquially, how long will you keep?
Yeah, how long? Yeah, right.
Ela, achad ledayin ve'achad letzedakah.
Had ledin.
Ledin, sorry.
Yeah.
Rather, say that one is for justice and one is for charity.
Or judgment and loving kindness, sort of. Okay, so stop here. So what is the argument between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Akiva?
How how to refer to the
Right.
two chairs.
What is the advantage of Rabbi Yosef's interpretation over Akiva's interpretation?
Well, why would David be on equal footing with God?
Right. So there is a problem with Akiva, right? With his presentation that you're putting David on an equal level with God, okay? And Rabbi Yosef Galili of the Galilee, what does he say?
He's talking about attributes.
Attributes of God, right? It's not duality. Like, so, and this, by the way, this concept of the different attributes of God, this midrash was later incorporated into the prayers in some traditions, where we plead with God, please get up from the throne of harsh judgment and sit on the throne of loving kindness. We don't just say treat us with kindness, but rather get up from this chair and sit on another chair. So it's the same entity on different chairs. Okay. So the Gemara asks the question: Kiblami
Kiblai minai.
mine.
Minai or lo kiblai minai. Did he receive it? Did he
Right.
listen? Or
Right. Did they accept this interpretation, or did he reject it?
Tashma. Echad ledin v'echad l'tzedakah. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Come and listen. Rabbi Akiva says one is for justice and one is for charity. So the Gemara is now applying Rabbi Yossi's view on attributes to Akiva.
Yeah.
So no, you're misunderstanding Akiva. He's really saying.
No.
he is
When we say
saying-
Tashma, means that we have another oral tradition where the interpretation of Rabbi Yosef Galili is delivered in the name of Rabbi Akiva. Meaning that
But that contradicts.
no, it's not a contradiction. Meaning originally he interpreted it as David and God. Then he spoke with Rabbi Yosef Galili, and then he changed his mind. And then another student who heard it from him afterwards reported in the name of Rabbi Akiva, this is what Rabbi Akiva says.
Okay.
So we have a proof that Rabbi Akiva accepted the interpretation of Rabbi Yosef.
Amar lo Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Akiva, ma lecha etzel Haggadah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah told him, Akiva, what are you doing teaching Haggadah? So, obviously with the new...
With a new interpretation, right. It's part of the right. Kalech midabrotecha
Atzal Negaim,
ve'ahalot.
take your words and go teach the laws of leprosy and the purity of the dead.
Okay.
These are harsh.
Very harsh.
This is phenomenal.
Very harsh. But
That's vibrant.
very harsh, very bizarre. And this group, by the way, Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi
Nasty to
Shimon,
each other.
this is a sample of live recording of the Mishnah. My professor in Bar Ilan, Meir Simon Feldblum, used to tell us the difference between the Talmud and the Mishnah is the Mishnah in many cases a live recording of what is going on in the Bet Midrash. And you see they're talking to Tarfon, Akiva, Ahi, my brother, right? And they swear. Rabbi Tarfon says, I swear it's true. If not, he says, let me bury both my sons. They get agitated, and they, yeah, no, right. What is happening here? How do you interpret this story? Okay, we have a difficulty in the verse. Rabbi Akiva offers an interpretation. Rabbi Yosef proves him wrong or rebukes him. Rabbi Akiva accepts his interpretation. He goes and he sells it to another rabbi, another of his friends, right? Someone from his circle, and he says, "No, this is not for you. Go, quit the department, the faculty of Haggadah, and move over to the faculty of leprosy and teach your classes of halakha."
Why?
What is going on here?
I have no idea.
Well, Rabbi Elazar obviously doesn't like that interpretation.
Okay,
But why didn't he object to it when Rabbi Yossi of Galilee said it?
so
It's one of those where you have the
the objection is to
Akiva.
There's like
Akiva.
because Akiva is like basically it seems like he's going back and darshaning on his own.
He's also more,
So
more
interpretation.
authoritative.
So are they? Okay. So first of all, we identified it. The objection is not to the interpretation. The objection is to Akiva. Something is wrong with Rabbi Akiva, or as his friends call him, Akiva.
Does this have something to do with the fact that he was pushing the rebels to fight?
So
Well, he was a supporter.
Carolyn says that it was because he changed his mind. Josh says because he goes around and telling people, reselling his or something like that, right?
Well, we also, but we know Akiva was a supporter of.
And Shir said that he was a political entity. Okay, so let's think of, you're allowed to change your mind. Actually, I think it would be it's praiseworthy.
Yeah, because you learn.
I learn. I regret.
This also relates to the previous Midrash,
About
where God is reflecting.
right.
He feels
And
reflected.
Rabbi Shimon is another of Rabbi Akiva's students, right? So we're right. There was great opposition to Rabbi Akiva. He was pushing the rebellion with Bar Kokhba. He was recruiting people. He was raising funds. At one point, one of his friends told him, maybe it was Rabbi Elazar, said, Akiva, Ya'alu asavim bilhayecha. He says, Akiva, grass will grow through your cheeks.
Oh, you're going to die before
Yeah.
any of this comes to fruition.
Right. You'll be pushing daisies.
You're pushing
It is literally, it's just
Yeah,
the other way. Like the grass will grow through your cheeks.
Yeah.
Va'adain
You're going to get yourself
Ben-
killed.
David lo ba.
I'm just doing it for fun.
The rhythm of it. So this is Mashiach is not coming. Forget it. Just like Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai says, go plant the sapling. It's a part of this whole struggle. A lot of the Midrash is created on the backdrop of these struggles. And who did Rabbi Akiva support? Bar Kokhba. Rabbi Akiva believed that Bar Kokhba is the Mashiach. Remember, he renamed him from Bar Kosiba or Bar Kosba to Bar Kokhba, the son of the star, because he's the shooting star that will redeem the Jewish people. The friend says, no, it's not going to happen. You are bringing destruction upon
They're
us.
going to get us all killed.
So let's see the first interpretation that Rabbi Akiva offers and see how it ties into that.
He was right, though.
Who does he put on the thrones?
Oh, first he puts David and God.
Right. Kiseh hadlo for God.
Right.
Right. God is on one throne and David is on the other. So what does David mean in the context of Rabbi Akiva? Mashiach. You are waiting for the son of David because the Mashiach will come from the Davidic dynasty. Oh, so you are saying that here God and the Mashiach are on the same level.
No.
This is political agenda. That's why Rabbi Segeli gets upset with him. This is one of the first, years ago, remember the first sessions of
Monday.
Midrash that we spoke about the fear of the rabbis, the early rabbis, the fear of the Midrash is that it could be used to manipulate people, to lead them wherever you want.
Which it hasn't.
Which has been. And with Rabbi Akiva, who was a charismatic leader, we know he was because he was able to put the rebellion together. He was able to travel all over the world to get people and money to support it.
So it's not only you'll be pushing daisies, it's like you're going to get us all killed.
Exactly.
And
So,
he did.
yes.
So we
That's
revere
true.
this guy who actually ended up making
Yeah.
pretty stupid choices.
In politically
Or not
Problematic.
stupid choices, but
politically problematic. I think that some schools in Israel created a mock trial where Rabbi Akiva defends his decisions. So it's an interesting exercise to do with students. Because Rabbi Akiva would say, if I would not have fought against the Romans, the Jewish tradition would have disappeared. There would be no Jews.
Wasn't there someone else who Yossi the Galilean might have remembered hung around in the Galilee?
Who,
And it
Bruria?
was Jesus, And
Oh, yeah,
is
could be.
problematic here
Could be.
because he's talking about when you're going to equate the
That is also a
with the
possibility.
profane. With the,
Could be. That is definitely a possibility, right? Rabbi Yosef lives in the
that's
north.
recent memory.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's also a possibility. So it's either
Not only
the
that,
false,
like,
either the
happening
false
right now.
Messiah of the Galilee, or the false Messiah of Rabbi Akiva. One of them. They're both a problem. And once you mention that, you just realize that Jesus is going around in the Galilee, right? Which is in the north of Israel. The Galilee is the north, right? And the famous city that is associated with Christians in Israel is Bethlehem, which is
Just south of Jerusalem.
in the south, or center south, right? There's another city associated with Christians in Israel.
Oh, Jerusalem.
That's later.
Yeah.
Nazareth,
Oh.
which is in the north. And Nazareth comes from the word
Nazarite?
Notzri. Nazarite, no, the Nazarenes. Their name was Notzrim.
No, it's really-
Notzrim in Hebrew meaning the guards. To guards, I think, is means so in Hebrew. So where is he? From Nazareth, from the north, or from Bethlehem in the south? The answer is that he was born probably in a small village called Bethlehem of the Galilee. There's a town called Galilean Bethlehem. Two towns by the same name, right?
got them all over our country.
All over your country, exactly. Bethlehem, like 13 or 14 of them, next to Goshen and Canaan, and even Sodom and Gomorrah. So it means the basket, the basket of bread, Bethlehem, or the house of bread. So there were two cities with the fertile soil. They were called Bethlehem. He was born here. Around his birthplace, they created the city of Nazareth. But later on, the Gospels turn it into Bethlehem of the South because this one is associated with King David. Because David is the one who's called Bet al-Lahmi. We say it in Kabbalah Shabbat. It's based on a pasuk from right. So this is how the association works. So it's a very good point. But be it as it may, we now understand why Rabbi Yosef gets upset. It doesn't matter even what Rabbi Akiva is going to say. He would have attacked him anyway. But he gave him good ammunition because what are you doing? You're talking about your messianic aspiration, or you're going to lead people after your false Messiah. Whether it's people will think you talk about Jesus, we think about you talk about Bar Kokhba. Not good. Rabbi Akiva said, okay, I didn't mean it. Why are you putting things in my? I didn't mean it. I really, honestly, this right. He apologizes even. He says, here's your interpretation. Judgment and loving kindness. Rabbi Akiva says, okay, good. Let me go talk to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And he goes and he tells him that. And what did Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say? What did he tell him?
What are you doing teaching Agadah?
Ma lecha etzel Agadah. It's not for you. It's like, I don't care what you say. Don't mess up with Haggadah. In other words,
You're too charismatic to be in this biz.
yes, you have to go to the dry laws, to the just deal with the
That's sort of really
harsh.
not harsh. I was going to say impossible. Like you get a charismatic leader, they don't go sit
Yes.
in the annals into the history department.
It's
Like,
true. That's why it didn't happen. They tried to stop him, but it didn't happen.
But it's just
But if you're a
unrealistic.
pacifist, you're a
But
pacifist.
it's unrealistic to
Right.
think that he was going to do that.
Yeah, but also, to what legal department exactly did he send him?
The
Not
old stuff
tax
that
and
can't be
finances.
used. Temple stuff.
More than that, I think.
Purely death and helping people.
No, you're not helping people with negaim. Negaim is zarat, leprosy.
Leprosy.
Ahalot is, you know what ahalot are? The tents that cover the dead bodies. That if you are under the same roof with the dead body, you also become impure.
Well, both of these imply
Yeah.
separation
Separation
and
death.
death, which is almost what he's wishing for.
Go get hanged.
Akiva.
Oh, right. Okay.
Not only do I want you to study separation, separate yourself from us.
Right.
And study
Right.
separation.
So if we look at both of them, so this would apply to negaim. Go study the laws of leprosy, which means take yourself out of our camp. We don't want you. We reject you like an impure person. And Ahalot, which deals with the laws of death, is Rabbi Elazar, maybe, I'm not my interpretation, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah telling, you are bringing death upon us.
That you're going to get us all killed.
You're going to get us all killed. Go like saying, oh, that's what you teach? Go dig some graves. So again, we see a Midrash that seems like concise and innocent, but it's loaded. There are two dialogues here. There are two interactions between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva, but it teaches about the dynamics, the politics of Eretz Israel, how people thought about going to war, making peace, accepting reality, and they're all related. All those three midrashim that we've seen so far are related in that sense. Yes.
I'm sorry, how do you know that he's talking about Bar Kokhba as being the Messiah?
You just left the room when Josh said it might be Jesus. That Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Sagiri says, be careful. People will think that you support Christianity. Could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it doesn't say though that. I mean, it doesn't say that he thinks Bar Kokhba is going to be the next Messiah. So
Not here, but they knew that.
Okay.
Rabbi Akiva said so unabashedly. He was really, that was one of his ways to motivate people, was to talk about here Mashiach is
It
coming.
was his stump speech, so everybody knew that was like on his ballot. Like everybody,
That was part of his platform.
that was part of his platform, yeah.
No, it's true. Like Midrash is highly political. There's no question. But could be that Rabbi Yosef didn't even bother to look into what Rabbi Akiva was saying. He just found we didn't even associate with either Bar Kokhba. It doesn't, just like you're charismatic. Don't deal with these issues. Just leave us alone.
Right, because he could be very influential.
Yes.
And persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
With this.
Right. Charismatic not always means that you will lead the people in the right direction.
There's an incredible tension here between we can't just sit and take it,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been burned a lot before.
Yeah.
We know how this is going to end up. We should sit this one out.
Yes.
It's like this.
Yes, that's why I love reading Midrash through the historical lenses, because you all of a sudden you realize this is not an academic debate. It's not a question of commentary of the Torah. They're dealing with life and death. And you have hundreds of thousands of lives on the line, and they're dealing with it. Like, what are we doing with that? Some people went further than that and interpreted all interactions between these rabbis as revolving around this issue. Even the one that we read in the Haggadah, when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the same Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, says, I am almost 70 years old and no one ever said Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus at night. So everybody says, what is the big deal? We say Shema morning and evening. We mention Yetziat Mitzrayim. Why are you so surprised? So one commentator, Eliezer or Elazar Korman, says that the rabbis who were sitting together in Bnei Barak, those 5 rabbis, among them is Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Akiva, the same protagonists. And they were talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim all that night. They're not talking about Yetziat Mitzrayim. They're right, they're talking about Yetziat Rome. How are we going to redeem ourselves from the Romans? And they're arguing back and forth. The students come and say, morning has broken. Like the first morning. So, stop. I had to say that. You have to do something. Stop talking. Either they say, some say, you can't talk because with daylight you have to remain underground, or they say you're debating whether to do or not to do, but you have to do something. Maybe what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is saying is that to say Yetziat Mitzrayim Balilot, to speak about the redemption during the night, means that you still keep your hope, even at the darkest moment. But this is, midrashic interpretation. But definitely, it has to be understood in the context of all these military conflicts and persecutions and suffering that happened in Israel.
this tension, like Josh was saying, it exists now. It's still that same question of, like, is it good for the Jews? Like, what is the best course of action to
Yes.
take in any given
Yeah.
political conflict?
Right.
Right? Well, we don't have that crystal ball.
Yes,
So
yes.
should we fight? Should we hold back? Should we stay behind the wall?
Mhm.
Should we try to, it's that same tension.
Right. I just think that now we have to move past this question into, is it good for the world? That now in historical perspective we realize that our Judeo-centric worldview should shift a little bit. Not that we're not important, but we're not the center of the world. We could offer a lot. I mean, Jews did offer a lot to the world, and it is because of the values of the Torah. There's no question. I think the world would have looked different without the impact of Judaism. But I said it many years ago when the first election that I was participating at, that instead of asking about the presidential candidate, are they good for the Jews, you should ask, are they good for America? Because they're going to be the president of America, not the president of Israel. And besides it, history has proven that when you have a strong America, a strong president, Israel also benefits. There's a side benefit. You cannot ask an Israeli American citizen what is good for America, because then the Slovenian American and the Indian American and the Mexican American, each one of them will vote for someone who has a different interest. Will end up with a divided country. So, which we have. No, we have a somewhat divided country. Somewhat. We're more divided, more now than maybe 6 months ago. But I think it will get better. Okay. Very good. So